Hey, what's up, guys? Nick the Informative Fisherman here this morning, and today I got the 2007 Bassmaster Classic champion, one of the pioneers for Major League Fishing, one of the well-known entrepreneurs. You could say he is the shark from the Shark Tank for the fishing industry, Mr. Boyd Duckett. Good morning, Boyd.
Good morning. How we doing?
Pretty good, man. So I'm going to tell you guys how this video came about here. I know a lot of people were watching me do interviews and ask questions to guys. Well, I like to give guys the hard questions, Boyd, and I keep it real with you. So my buddy, Wes Higgins, you guys may know him as the president of Bill Lewis Outdoors Rattletrap. Okay, Wes is from that family, and Wes is about as good as they come. Probably one of the nicest guys I have ever met in my life. Like, he will call in to check in. If I'm catching bluegills with my kids, Wes calls me to check in. He's just one of those super humble, good people. And he watched one of my latest videos, Boyd. I don't know if you've seen this, but he says we disagree, so this should be interesting.
Oh, hey, man, it won't be the first time, huh? Yeah.
So it was about lipless crankbaits and when certain ones apply. Now, for me, I'm all about application purpose per bait instead of evaluating if they're eating that particular bait that day. And the reason why this is like I was talking to Boyd earlier, just before I started recording this, that I really like the tournament aspect of bass fishing, though I no longer do it anymore. And when these guys are out there, money's on the line, they have to make quick, calculated decisions to where, okay, this particular bait, I know it's going to be well at this. You know, I don't have time to dial it in. In pre-fishing, sure you can, but you know what bait typically does what. And you can't sit out there and be the Doug Hannon when money's on the line. You know how that goes.
Yeah, man, it happens quick.
Yeah, it's all about decision making. You look at a guy like Boyd. How long you been fishing pro now, Boyd?
Man, you know, I have, I think the world, I've got a very unusual career. You know, I started traveling when I was 17. That was 1977, trying to make money fishing. Back then, it was the Fisherman's Bass Circuit. A bunch of the pros, the old guys that you would know fished it. And then, so I have been really serious about fishing for a long time. I also have worked my whole life because I'm one of those weird people that always have to have about 9 things going. And so fishing, I never settled completely on fishing. Now, as I have transferred from all the different businesses that I've been in today, you know, with the advent, you know, Gary and I founding Major League Fishing, and it's grown up and blown up. I spend a tremendous amount of time there now, obviously, you know, probably 40 or 50 hours a week just on that property. So, you know, that's kind of my full-time gig. Obviously, I've got, you know, Duckett Fishing. We manufacture rods and reels and baits, and I've got a marine dealership, and then a few other things going, but mostly in the fishing business. And hey, by the way, I am still competing. I'm old and tired and not as
you're crazy, man.
Yeah, I don't spend as much time on the water, but I love it so much that I still fish, you know, the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour. So till the young guys kick me out, I'm still in it, baby.
And man, and you're super competitive. What do you have, like 20 top 10 finishes? I know it's up there. I don't know the exact number, but it's and like what was it? Like your rookie years when your rookie year was 2007 when you won the Classic, right?
Well, you know, not really. I mean,
well, for that circuit.
Yeah, my life has been about time allocation because I have started so many companies in different industries. Fishing was always a big passion and very important to me. In 2005 is really where I committed. You know, because I had fished and won lots of stuff and regional stuff. You know, having fished all that time, and on the FLW side and on the bass side and everywhere. But in 2005, I said, hey man, if I'm ever gonna do this thing, you know, I've got to do it full time. You got to realize full time for me is never full time. Okay, full time for me is the amount of time it takes to do that project. Okay, so I kind of full timed it from 05 to 10. So about 5 years there, I worked my tail off and you know, pre-practice, did everything you have to do to compete at the highest level, put the time and energy in. Economy stepped back a notch there in 10, if you remember, and it kind of kicked me back in the work mode. I had a couple other companies that I had to keep up with, but that was my biggest invested time frame. Now I've always fished and I love it, but that was a fun run, and won a couple $1 million during that 5-year run.
Jeez.
So yeah, it was fun.
So if you guys don't know how Boyd's talking about juggling a million things, just look Boyd up and you're going to see there's catfish fillet records being set for different companies, from rental, oil truck services. Boyd has been everywhere. And at the same time winning $2 million at the most elite level in bass fishing. And I preach this all the time, Boyd. I tell people, like, if your brain's not 100% invested, you're going up against the best of the best. Once you start competing as a pro, these dudes aren't slacking. They're putting out every waking moment to make sure they get one more bite than you, a slightly bigger fish average than you. So for you to be able to do that, I want to give another little outside perspective. And this is kind of even off topic. So Boyd's a well-known entrepreneur, okay? And myself, I've recently started to venture into the more entrepreneurship side of the fishing industry. And I was all about focus, minimalizing all of my other distractions. So I did the opposite of you, Boyd. I'm going from fishing side now to the entrepreneur side. You were heavy entrepreneur, and then merging it into entrepreneur fishing side, which is fascinating to me. And the reason why I think a guy like Boyd is so successful is entrepreneurs have this way of making calculated decisions which fit them best. They know what they're good at, and they have this way of knowing what's working and what's not working. And some people are just good at this. They're like poker players. If you watch, Texas Hold'em players or a golf player, I'm sure you play golf, don't you?
Oh yeah.
See, and this is just one of these things. People that know calculated execution very well, and they know how to get in and get out, and they don't let things drag them down. And I think this is probably your mindset is just so different. Let me ask you this. When you pull up to a spot that you're confident in, okay, you went out pre-fishing, you whacked the tarnation out of them. If you go out there and they don't bite for 10 minutes on that spot, are you out?
My quick answer would be yes, but I will say it depends. And so tournament fishing is all about obviously finding them and then making good on the water decisions. You hammered it, dude. It's about the decisions. It has least to do with rods, reels, baits, and catching them. It has all to do with the on the water decisions. That's a tournament day. That's what it's about. So on that special place like you're talking about, I would have to, and as you get better at it, what's critical is that you follow your own intuition, because your skill set is different from my skill set. That's going to be different from our viewers today. But if it fits your wheelhouse and skill set, you should have the confidence to believe your own personal intuition. So there may be things, for instance, you pull up and no, I didn't catch them on this gravel point, but I've got I'm looking at my live scope and I see fish offshore. I may stay and try to catch them if I still believe I can. It's because something's going on. Or I haven't caught one yet, but I had 3 short strikes on my crankbait. I know maybe I got to drag a worm through the brush. So there's variables. But when it goes away, guys, and this is the point you're trying to make, you got to go. That's the biggest mistake that amateur fishermen make. If it's gone away, it's gone away. Just go find them again, man. And the quicker you do that, the more weight you'll have at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. So let's get back on subject here. Thanks for sharing with that, man. It's because I really I look at a person like you and I'm like, dang, man, how did you juggle all that and how did you still stay successful? And one of your biggest guys right now in Major League Fishing, Jacob Wheeler, I said, shoot, 10 years ago when Jacob was a real youngster, he used to always wear V-neck. So I used to always call Jacob V-neck because he had this big white tan line from his tournament jersey going back to his V-neck. And Jacob, he's filming all this YouTube stuff, like we were talking about. And I'm like, oh man, when he first started going heavy into the YouTube, I'm like, oh, this is going to distract Jacob. Nope, completely wrong. This guy completely wrong. I cannot believe how much YouTube stuff he's doing and remaining successful. And I think he's got that same sort of mindset that you do. about fishing and staying into the social media side. And I'm just like, wow, this is awesome that, he's the top guy in ML. He's top guy in the world, I believe, right now.
Yep.
And it's really fascinating to see. And we're going to get more into the MLF side of things. So let's get into where Wes Higgins, Wes, Mr. Rattletrap, thinks that we disagree. So I don't know if he's even talked to you about this yet. So in that video, I'm talking about yo-yoing lipless baits, straight retrieve lipless baits, and hybrid style, ones that can kind of do it both. And I'll give you the basis of what I was talking about, Boyd, is I believe the Rattletrap is still the best straight retrieve bait. Whether you're shallow or counting it down or ripping through grass, it's essentially a cast and wind straight retrieve. And yes, you could do different things with it. And then I talk about, let me shake that other bait off of there, like an LV 500 style. That's a fat vibe. That's Savage Gear 1, which is designed more or less for yo-yoing. Okay, it's got more of that wobble fall. And then I say a hybrid style bait is much more of like the red eye. Kind of lighter on the side, essentially a little thinner, more like a Rattletrap. Not as good at the depths, but kind of does a little bit of both. And then Wes calls me 1 or 2 days later after I post this video, and he goes, I'll tell you right now, Boyd completely will disagree with this. And he goes, he won the classic, like fishing a Rattletrap like a dang worm. And here's the crazy part is, like, when he mentioned this, I'm like, oh yeah. I totally remember now. This is when like Byron was watching you guys.
Yeah.
And Byron called it a frenzy something. And I'm so distracted by Byron's hair. So final day, Boyd's like, I think you were in 5th or 6th at the time, starting off that morning. And Kevin was leading it, and Skeet was in 2nd. And dude, talk about the who's who in the 2007 Classic. That top 20 list was ridiculous. I believe that was Ish's first Classic. And when you came out the gate, you stuck like 3 immediately, and it was just like, boom, top of the board. Yeah. And Marty and Zoto were going back, like trying to create storyline about the guys who were on top, and you just didn't let off. You just kept it going. So how are you fishing it, and why does Wes think we disagree on this? Take it away, Boyd.
Well, that's fun because Wes is such a great person. I'm sure if he disagreed, he was the politest disagreement you've ever heard, huh?
It was.
So I have cycled through, just like you have, all the different, lipless baits. You use them in different applications. The Bill Lewis brand specifically, that is undoubtedly my favorite. I have some others that I use, especially maybe in deep water. I've got a couple other lift and drops for that 15, 18 foot water situation. But day in and day out, and I really don't know what it is specifically about the Rattletrap brand. Okay. I mean, we all want to be, we do this our whole life, so we want to know all these answers, so I just let the fish tell me. Okay. But in less than 6 feet of water, where you can kind of manage a bait, different from a deep retrieve.
Yeah.
In that particular Classic, water's super cold. I mean, super cold. It would during pre-practice for that Classic, the areas that I caught fish and ultimately won the Classic on were frozen over at Lay Lake. Super cold winter. So our water temps in that event were 38 to 41.
Holy.
Dude, it was crazy. All the backwater, like a couple of those, that flipping fish I caught in the end that Skeet will never forget because it cost him $500,000. I throw that up there because we're good. We're really good friends, but he'll never let me live that down. Of course, he did the same thing to me at the Red River 2 years later. Okay, on the last day. Okay, so we're even on that.
Fair enough.
But I was fishing a gravel bar that was started about 2 feet deep. Gravel went out to about 5 feet deep, and I like to take a Rattletrap, throw it out, and pull it along so it just kind of bounces along. Now you can't be in a bunch of heavy wood cover, obviously.
Sure.
But I am willing to risk hang-ups all day long, okay, for bites, especially quality bites. And that bait, as it bounces along and knocks along, between the sound and the way it turns side to side and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I do kind of fish them like a worm, especially early when it's super cold. And I'll pull it along and I'll stop and reel up slack. And
so
then
you're off the reel. You're
I'm off the reel. I stop, pull it. I let it come to a complete stop.
Wow.
Then I'll pull it along and it'll bounce along and it'll just stop and lay there. Dude, it is such an effective technique when you can find a contour that will allow you to do that. Can't do that in grass, okay? You know, you can't do it in grass, but any hard bottom situation, and that was the key deal because there were big spotted bass up on those gravel bars, and they were really hard to catch, but they would react to that. Many times, I can tell you a bunch more examples, but that's a good one because it had a big paycheck tied to it. So everybody remembers that one, but
sure.
That's the same deal, man. That is a phenomenal way to fish a rattle trap, and that particular bait, you know, this brand, the Bill Lewis brand, is unquestionably, I just get more bites on it. I think it's because of the square face.
Yeah.
Compared to like the red eye, where it makes it knock around. The red eye to me, which is good lift and drop. I think you mentioned that.
Yeah.
But crawling it, and when it hits and deflects, all it really ever does is go up on one side a little or go up on the other side. It doesn't
like
have
a
that
round bill.
Yeah, man. It doesn't have that, like the rattle trap acts like a square bill.
Yeah, just
when you grind it. Yeah, it's real erratic about what it does, and it draws strikes. So that was that particular issue. And then when Wes called me about that, he also talked about the lift and retrieve. We just I was out at Sam Raven with those guys doing some footage. So we were grass fishing. I live on Lake Guntersville, by the way, so I live on a grass lake. You know, love the Delta.
See you next week. I'll be over.
Oh, awesome! Yeah.
Just free up a bedroom, man.
Yeah. But one of the things that Wes has commented on when he's been in my boat in the past is how much I move a rattle trap in a pump retrieve. So, gosh, forever we all that fish grass, because we have no choice. Okay,
right.
You want to get a rattle trap that is weighted. Okay, so that whether it's quarter ounce, half ounce, whatever your weight is, so that you're not having to kill it. You can hold the tip up. You can increase line diameter, something to get it where it's just nicking that grass. Okay. Then when you hit it, you pop it free. And you do all of it because you don't have a choice. Otherwise, you'd be hung. Okay.
Yeah, that is the retrieve on the Delta. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's the retrieve on the Delta. Well, that taught me that they like that erratic retrieve. So I started fishing it that way in open water. Like I'd go to Lake Martin fishing for spots. There's no grass. But I started using that same retrieve where I'd fire it out there, I'd let it sink a little bit, and I'd wind it, and I'd pop it about twice and reel up the slack, and then reel and pop it about twice, and I caught them way better. Because we're popping it out of the grass, but it's making the bait come to life with action, especially when it's cold. Those crawfish colors, the 46R, I think that's the color you showed me a while ago. I don't know. Is that your favorite?
It's one of, definitely.
Dude, that is my number one favorite. It's one of the oldest. It might be the oldest. I don't even know. It's an old
it's
rattle
up
trap
there.
color.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's old. That is my number one favorite rattle trap color. But I learned to go fish the trap that way every place. And there's times, just like you mentioned earlier, the straight retrieve, fish are schooling, or a lot of times in the fall where they want to feed high or whatever, keep your rod. It's a straight retrieve deal. But other than that, really fall fishing, dude, I fish it like that all the time. And it increased my number of strikes, open water. It doesn't matter where you go. You can go to Lake Norman, fishing for spots, or you could go to a Clear Lake, where you're not busting it out of grass. Throw it around those docks at Clear Lake. And just rip it about twice, just like you're ripping it out of hydrilla, and let it fall and rip it about twice, dude. You'll go to rip it, and it's
Now that makes me want to go to Rattlesnake at Clear Lake right now and drag it, because that's one of those spots where I know they sit in December.
Yeah, it'd be good. But that's kind of what I learned about it was that number one, if you're in open water. if you want to get way more bites, don't wind it.
Right.
I know you catch them winding it, but you'll catch way more. I mean, you got to go do it, okay? You know, it's not magic. It's not going to happen the first time you do it, but if you'll learn how to pretend like you're fishing hydrilla and rip that bait, dude, you'll get so many more strikes.
Now, let me ask you this, Boyd. When you're fishing it real cold and you're dragging it, are you using the rattling or the knocker?
I use the rattling.
The rattling, okay.
Yeah, you're talking about the one knocker deal?
Yeah. When do you play with the one knocker? I was doing it in the wintertime, the one knocker, or clear water conditions. Mm-hmm. Is there any particular time where you pick that up over the rattling?
So on the sound deal, you know, what I kind of do on the sound deal is I let the fish choose two things, whether, and we have you know, I'm in the bait business, obviously, Duckett Fishing. We make all kinds of baits. I have a tremendous respect for Wes and Rattletrap. We have grown up so much, we make all product lines, and I had to make a lipless. Okay. I got to where I got to make a lipless. So I called Wes and I said, dude, my line is not complete. We make everything. I got to make a lipless. And I love your product. I don't want to compete with you, but I have a lot of retailers that are asking it for you. And Wes said, I'll build it for you. And it was like the perfect deal because I had no desire to compete with it because I use that brand. Yeah, I was probably still going to use that brand, and I was having to build a bait. I was just in the dilemma, man. You know, so he let me work with those guys, and we developed the Duckett trap that we're launching right now. We're getting product in February, and it's a new sound, and it is a 5-shot sound. So it's not a one knocker, but it's not the high count shot. And so it is a very unique sound. But to go back to answer your question, one of the things I do with rattle traps and you guys that fish with me, you know, you get hung in your favorite color or whatever, you know, if I'm fishing craws and I'm here at Guntersville, the first thing I do is put about 6 or 7 craw colors in my tray. I got this little tray, you know, and that I put on my junk in, you know, and then I don't like to tie to a split ring. Right. And I use a quality snap, like a Sampo snap, stainless snap. No, never. I prefer that from an action. The split ring does not offer as much movement as a snap will. But I'm
rounder head snap.
Yeah, that's right. And it's bigger and it really lets the bait move. So I feel like that contributes to more bites for me. But buy a quality snap now because there's some cheap ones out there and they'll come open on you. So don't go buy it. You got to buy a good one. But then that also contributes to color change and sound change. So as soon as I get a short strike or a couple of short strikes, dude, you don't have the right deal. Whatever. I don't have to be a genius. I just got to be smart enough to change. Okay. I don't have to know why they hit chartreuse over white. I just need to know they hit it. Okay. So I really do a lot of bait changes and even when I'm catching them now, because you're catching them on a chrome black back, say, you know, real good comment, but they're all coming on the back hook. I still continue to make changes, especially in practice for an event, because they'll normally be a color or a sound combination, and they'll gut it compared to the other ones that are hitting. And once you find that, now I'm good to go. And for whatever reason that day on that lake, bait, forage, whatever, watercolor, that's what they want. And so I do my best to dial that in or as early as possible so I'm on exactly the right bait. Hey, listen, guys, learn that. I'm fishing a PAA tournament. You remember the PAA event? Yeah. So I'm on Toho, and the PAA events, I think we had 150 boats. It's a lot of boats on Toho.
That's a heck of a lot.
Heck of a lot of boats. And we're there in a fall event. And I'm in this little grass drain, this little grass cut, and gosh, there's like 6 or 7 guys in there because there was a bunch of bass in there schooling down in the grass. You know, they'd come up at times, other times they wouldn't. And I had gone through that, and I had dialed in the perfect color rattle trap, and I had gone through what I just said to you. When the tournament started, I got in there, and everybody's thrashing. You know how it is when it gets real crowded in an area. And I am catching them, dude, like every cast. It's like a clinic. And a couple of the guys caught some, but nothing like I was catching them.
They had to sit there and watch that go down.
And they were trying to figure out, and I'm trying to keep the bait in the water as long as possible, lift and cast where they can't tell what color it is, And because I had taken the time to figure it. Now, back when they were the only boat in there, they could, you could catch them.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
There is always a magic color, magic sound, magic combo, size. You got to work that out before the tournament starts. So that was an example where it really helped me.
Yeah, I think a lot of people overlook that. And I'm going to tell anybody watching this video right now, guys, if you're a novice, like, what Boyd and I are talking about right here, yeah, we may have 20 different colors and 20 different sound job options. If you guys are just novice and you don't want to spend a fortune, get extremes like a crawdad, shad, a knocker, and a rattling of each. So we're only talking 4 baits right there. Something to where you can make an extreme adjustment instead of a subtle adjustment. This is more expert pro level, what Boyd and I are talking about right here, even though this is the blatant truth of the matter. But try not to get baits that are remarkably similar if you're just getting into this, or if you've only been fishing for a year or two and you can't afford to spend a fortune, or you only fish 1 or 2 days a month. Just go with something a little bit more with a drastic difference, not subtle differences to begin with. And then later on in life, once you start pursuing bass fishing more or get more time to spend on the water, then dial in those subtle differences. But it's going to give you clues a little bit faster. Exactly like Boyd was talking about. He could throw a bunch up there. He's fishing for a living. I'm fishing for a living. We can do this a little bit faster. So don't spend the whole day making subtle adjustments unless you have that time, unless you have that money and have all those baits, then go for it at that point. So Wes, if you're watching this, Boyd and I did not disagree. I was talking about yo-yo and I said dragging. The Rattletrap is not the bait I typically drag in the winter. I'll probably pick up a blade bait, although now I'm definitely going to, because I seen Boyd hopping around in his chair telling me the story. Any grown man that's hopping in his chair telling the story, that's 100% truth. He's over here getting excited, making me excited to want to go do it.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, it's neat. It's so much fun when the water's cold and early to go throw that Rattletrap. So, but yeah, it's cool. It's really neat. Those of all the geeks like you and I that care enough about lipless baits to worry about all this stuff, But it's such a good bait category. Really, I would say there's very few tournaments. We're coast to coast, as you're well aware of. Major League Fishing, we go everywhere. Our cups.
I got a question for you.
Huh?
I gotta cut you off on this one. Okay.
Sorry.
I heard a rumor, Boyd.
Uh-oh.
So I know this whole restrictions from COVID out here, especially out west. I heard that you guys were planning on doing a West Coast swing visit. Is that more rumor or is that more truth?
Well, there is some truth to the rumor, and the truth of it is that we want to come out there and we intend to come out there. Okay, and everything's not finalized, obviously, but our intention is to do that. It was going to be as soon as 21. Coming right up, but you're exactly right. We don't think we can get. We're gonna do our best to get a whole season in, and we're trying to go to the highest probability of places that we can function and not be COVID restricted. And you guys are struggling with that out there, so that's probably taking that off the table for 21.
Man, I was like, if you guys end up on the Delta, to see what my buddy Mark and my buddy Ish could do out here on an MLF. I know Ish has been waiting for his opportunity to shine up.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Get out west, Clear Lake. Oh man.
Yeah,
Ish
we want to come.
Delta. Woo.
Yeah, we definitely want to come, man. Bass fishing is a national sport. I know a bunch of it happens on the East Coast. I tell you something else. I'm going to take this minute to say this because this is important. Obviously, last year we went through about 10 months. I spent about 10 months on the purchase of FLW, which has now become Big Five. It's rolled into Major League Fishing.
Congratulations, Charlotte.
I had a long conversation with MDJ the other day about the West Coast specifically. We have a Toyota series out there. at Major League Fishing, we are a national company, and I can tell you we're very interested in participating on the West Coast and having the West Coast participate with us. I want to take a minute while I've got your audience to say that. At the same time, guys, okay, listeners, viewers, we support us, man. You know, be part of. We're trying to be out there. I can tell you that I've. Working with Kathy Fennell and Dave, and on our Toyota Series event specifically, we have a California Toyota Series division. We ran it this year. The number of boats in participation to be, me, man, I'm as straight as an arrow, to a fault. Okay, and I don't ever want to offend anybody. That's why I told you on the front end. I'm just gonna tell you like it is.
Yeah,
so
keep it real.
I want to be part of the West Coast. But we can't be part of the West Coast to lose money to be there. That's right. The easiest way to say it, dude. And I talked to MG Day and Skeet and Ish, and I said, guys, you're going to have to use your social media, and you're going to have to, if we're going to run tours out there, if we're going to have a BFL division that stays out there, Toyota Series, maybe even move pro circuit events, a couple out there where guys can be part of our national deal. Then we got to have participation, So I want to be there, but I want you guys to just make it where we can be, just let's go in together. I'm willing to do it on our side. Okay. So let's come together and let's make the West Coast be a permanent part of national professional bass fishing. That's what we need.
We got to talk a little bit more after this video about that. I got some ideas, but I can't be sharing them publicly.
Okay.
So let's divulge into MLF a little bit. This was such a new format that you guys created, and I love that you have an angler's board to evaluate stuff. And I noticed the 1 pounder going to the 2 pounder. In the beginning, I was one of those guys with the 1 pounder. I'm like, well, a lot of guys can find a school of 1 pounders. But a school of 2 pounders, I think, definitely made your big bait anglers shine a lot more once that change was made. Any more changes coming up that people should know about?
Well, actually, the for 2020, which COVID ended up giving us a shortened season, but we don't have a 2 pound minimum. What we have is a variable minimum. Okay. Because there are lakes that we want to fish everywhere. We don't want to race everything on super speedways. We want short tracks, we want road courses, we want super speedways, because everybody doesn't live on the Delta.
Nope.
Everybody doesn't live on Guntersville. There's a ton of America that fishes in medium to low level catch rate water. That's what's available.
Yeah.
But one of the cool things about tournament fishing, okay, it's just as much fun to fish there as it is where we are. Okay. Yeah. Because all you have to do is score more than the other team. That's what's cool about our sport. That's it, man. So, if 10 or 11 pounds a day is good bag, then you work hard to do that, and that puts you in the top 5. That's what's cool about our sport. So we want to see all of that. We want to fish places that it's hard, and obviously we want to go to those, legendary fisheries that have the big ones. So we really have a variable minimum. You will see us use a 1 pound minimum sometimes. When it's needed, you'll see us have a 3 pound minimum. We had a 3 pound minimum at Toho, by the way.
Oh, I didn't even see that one.
Yeah, man. At Toho, we had a 3 pound minimum. The final day, that was in our heavy hitters event. So, we're going to use the minimum to raise the bar to make it harder. And guys have to think about it, man. If I think about traveling nationally, and a lot of the lakes you go to, there's been over 4 days of fishing, back in the Elite Series, I almost always weighed fish under 2 pounds. I always weighed maybe a couple every day. You know what I'm saying? I had 3 good ones, a medium one, and a couple of keepers, And and when you take those away, it really it's a bigger challenge than you realize it is. But
absolutely.
That's what that is.
From what I heard, be perfectly honest with you, from what I heard from a lot of guys is that it was becoming associated with oh, it's just all about catching fish, and not targeting the bigger fish. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, if you watch, I know a lot of guys stopped watching MLF, and then a lot of new guys started watching MLF, which is very fast. I love the format. I'm becoming a bigger fan. At first, I was like, I didn't know. I'll be honest with you, Boyd. I was like, I don't know how I'm feeling about this. It's very exciting to watch, but my thing is, like, as a purist and being so used to catching the 5 biggest fish, and we all heard this term growing up, it's all about 5 bites. I just need those 5 bites, the right 5 bites. And now MLF's getting back to that with what Boyd's talking about, the variable, to where now your big bait guys, your guys who say, oh, I don't want to pick up the fairy one, though I love me some fairy one. Don't get me wrong, Boyd. They go, I don't want to see a fairy wand contest all day. Well, that's changing, guys. So if you watched MLF in the beginning, you're not watching anymore, you should watch it now, because it's becoming really, really fascinating. And you're starting to see these players come back where you thought, these weren't small fish guys, and if that was the case, if it was about catching 1,000 bass a day, Kevin would have won every single one of these. I'm just playing, Kevin. He's friends with my family in Kalamazoo. I'm just playing.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah.
No, but you guys need to definitely start watching MLF. The anglers are behind this. Boyd's been behind this the whole time. This is not some high-level corporate thing they're trying to do. What they're trying to do is further this sport in a professional aspect. Every single guy that I've heard say, oh, I don't like the MLF format, has also said, oh, how come we don't have a professional angling circuit? This is what these guys are doing. This is what Boyd's part of right here. This is not about entry fees. This is different. It's, you're coming out there to fish, and you don't have that additional stress. Like I read one time in your interviews, and you said traditionally guys were fishing primarily to get their entry fee back, and that's very, very true. And I think about this out west, if I'm going to sign up for some $1,800 big open out here, it's like, yeah, that's kind of what you have to do, but that's real stressful for a lot of these guys that have the skill set, but didn't make good financial decisions in life and can't afford to risk that. And they put that money on the line, and they're stressing out. And the more we support Major League Fishing, the more this is going to trickle down. How Boyd's talking about wanting to come out west. We need to get our entry numbers up. We need to participate in these tournaments. We need to support these organizations to continue the growth of this sport and support one another. Don't be talking trash if someone's posing with two pounders. Like Boyd said, there's Middle America. You go up north, there's some very tough places where a 2 or 3 pounder, you may weigh 25 pounds at Clear Lake, but you'll go there and you'll weigh 10 pounds. And just because you got this ego saying, I'm not going to pose with 2.5 pounders, it's all about the location. It's all about the place, guys. Like Boyd said, you go to a lake that's very tough, a 1 pounder should count. These lakes where you see these guys talk about their personal best, you look at half the guys on tour that don't have a 10 pounder, it's because they're fishing a lot of these hard places. You go to South Florida, you go to where I live, I've got 11 of the dang things. And, it's just the location. When you get all the players on the same field, that's what matters. It's not about the location. It's all about the playing field. I love that you're doing that, the variable weight. I didn't even realize that was going on in the Toho 3-pounder. That's pretty fascinating too.
Yeah, if we went to Clear Lake at the right time, dude, we could have a 4-pound minimum.
Oh yeah, you go in there like April, March.
Yeah, you could have a 4-pound minimum. Could you imagine, throwing back a 315?
And be stressing everyone out.
Yeah, come on, man. You could do a 4-pound minimum and still have a great event, and it'd be nothing but a slugfest. So, but bass fishing can't be made off of the 6 big fish lakes in America.
Yeah,
let's face it, we don't have many. I mean, or 7 or whatever it is. America has all of it, and it's a big sport, and that's really what makes it cool. Is to go. I love to go to Clear Lake. I mean, obviously, who doesn't like to go to Clear Lake?
Come on over, man.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest places in the world. But it's just as competitive to go up the street, to go to Shasta and compete with spotted bass and find a way that your fish are 3 or 4 ounces bigger because you're catching them in 50 and the other guys are catching them on the bank, and you win the event. It's just as competitive. It's just as much fun. And it's
That's
just
my favorite part. That's my favorite part about bass fishing, learning. I love going to a new body of water. I'm sure you do too. Or going to some creek. You know, you got to take your kids out or your grandkids out pan fishing to catch some bluegill, and you see like a 1.5 pound bass cruising through there. And even though you fish at the highest level, you're like, I wonder if I got something in the car that I can bomb out in front of this sucker.
Yeah.
I don't care how high of a level you're reaching this, guys. We all just love catching fish. And look at this man right here. MLF is all about the anglers, guys. Please get behind this. Boyd, let's wrap this up. I got a question for you, and this will be a tricky one. All right. I'm blindfolding you. Let's do this old school MLF style. I'm throwing a blindfold on you, and I'm going to drop you some random body of water. You bring 5 baits. It's all I'm giving you. 5 baits, no different colors, 5 baits. What do you got for me?
So you're not giving me any clues on the water. I just got to be ready for anything.
Nothing. Got to be ready for anything. You only get 5 choices.
Wow, man, that's tough. Okay, well, this is going to get real basic real quick. So
that's how it goes, guys. I want you to hear that.
Yeah, so I got to be ready for muddy clear. I got to be ready for cold or warm.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see, what am I going to do? One thing I'm going to have, I'm going to go with a chrome blackback Rattletrap, because I can catch them anywhere in America on it. And that covers, there you go. Here you go, dude. Yeah. I got that tied on. I'm going to probably have to have a jig or a plastic. I've also got to have, I like a lipless so much, I'm going to go with a chatterbait. I can fish that all over, and I can cover a ton of water. So I got
3/8 or half ounce. What are we talking?
3/8. 3/8. Yeah.
You can count it down.
Right, so I got a chatterbait. I got a Rattletrap. I'm going to probably either take, let me think, if I've got to catch them anywhere I go, I'm probably going to take a Senko instead of a worm, because I got more options. I can fish it weightless, or I can put a 16th in front of it, and there's nowhere in the world that you drop a Senko in, they ain't not going to eat it, okay? Okay, so I know I got a fish. I know I can catch one.
Everybody loves French fries.
Yeah. So there you go. So that gets me 3 of them.
Oh, that's 4.
I'm going to have to probably have something to crank with. And since you're just dropping me in and I'm going to compete, I'm going to give up on offshore. So I'm going to say 2.5 square bill. So I'd run my BD 2.5. That's bigger than a 1.5, but not a big one. Wow, I got one left.
Well, we had the trap, we had the chatter, we had a jig or a plastic, and we got the Senko.
I got a Senko. I didn't give you a jig. I got a chatterbait. I got a Senko, a trap. What else did I pick?
Lipless. You got the trap.
You got the
Senko. You got the chatter. You had a jig.
Oh, my 2.5.
Yeah,
2.5 square bill. So I get one more.
Oh,
I got a 2.5 square bill.
Okay.
Yeah, I got the 2.5 square bill. So I got that all handled. So let me think of what my weakest area left is.
He's going for the fairy one, guys. He's going for the one.
I know, man. I'd like to take, but the only problem is if you drop anywhere in America, you don't know that it's going to be clear or drop shot capable. I tell you what I'm going to go with. I'm probably going to go with a speed worm.
Oh.
I can fish shallow or deep because you didn't control my weight size.
That's right.
And if you've watched me much on television, you know I like to wind that thing around shallow, so that gives me another option. Got a little movement to it. It's pretty versatile.
You guys hear Boyd say speed worm, I will tell you what. I neglected the speed worm throughout my whole career of fishing, and about 3-4 years ago, I decided I'm going to start speed worming. What an idiot I was for neglecting that thing. You guys look into speed worming. I don't need to make an elaborate video on. Maybe I will later on my career or whatever throughout the year. But look into speed worming. That is literally one of the most underrated, most versatile things you can do to cover water fast in different parts of the water column and still offer them a finesse option and slow it down.
And get bites. Get bites, man. Get bites. You get bites.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Boyd, absolutely appreciate you coming on, brother. Thanks for sharing all this information with us. You're welcome to come out west anytime. Hop on my show with me or pick your brain, and I'm sure the people are going to have lots of questions. So if you guys want to ask Boyd something and I get a chance to talk to him again when he's not too busy, which is never, because this guy's always too busy. But either way, throw your comments down in the comment section, and I'll pick this guy's brain for you, and we'll make y'all a little bit better fishermen out there. Boyd, your company is ducketfishing.com.
Yep, ducketfishing.com. You can see all the products. Yes, sir.
All right, and your social media channels, what are you on Facebook?
Facebook, Boyd. Yep. Yep. Boyd Duckett, professional angler.
There it is, guys. Go follow Boyd. Support this man. Remember, if you're not following Major League Fishing on Instagram and Facebook, go do that. Turn the notifications on. Let's support the industry that we all love. Let's support this game. And remember, guys, be more supportive of each other. What the last thing fishing needs is hate. Let's bring the love, guys. Hopefully 21 is going to be a much better year for us. Boyd, have a good day, man. It's good talking to you.
Yeah, that's the message, man. We're one. We if nobody can unify, let's teach them that as outdoor anglers we can. Great
Absolutely.
message. We're all one. I agree. Appreciate the time.
Absolutely.